I'm Rod, I make music as Bright Light, Bright Light. I am Welsh, I live in London, I'm spending some time in the States, so I'm kind of all over the place at the moment. I would love to be transported to a decade which kind of straddles the 80s and 90s. So my favourite period of music is sort of like mid to late 80s to mid to late 90s. I'm a huge 90s enthusiast. I run a club night in London and I DJ at a club night in New York as well, which is 90s only. But there's a couple of songs like this sort of like 89 Janet stuff, Black Box, that kind of like just missed the 90s mark. So that's kind of my favourite period in time. We've got lots of great Depeche Mode singles, lots of like Morales mixes, lots of Bjork stuff, Kate Bush, Erasure. That's my favourite decade. My guilty pleasure, I guess, is my career. I come from a family who worked very, very hard. So I come from a family of coal miners and farmers and teachers who have worked very hard physically and mentally their whole lives. And so I do feel quite guilty, you know, traveling around the world doing music. And I work really hard, but it's always a pleasure, and it's a really privileged job to have, where I get to have fun and meet amazing people, play in different cities and see a lot of the world. So my guilty pleasure is also my favourite pleasure, which is also my daily work and my breadwinner and my money burner. It's kind of everything, I suppose. First album that I ever remember buying myself was Ace of Base's Happy Nation. I had like a really big love affair with Ace of Base. They were so popular in the UK and they had so many hits and they were on the radio all the time, and I just remember singing that album start to finish, and I still kind of do. If money wasn't an object, I would buy probably better versions of all the things that I already have. My setup at the moment is quite minimal, which is nice because my band, when I have the band, is quite easy to transport. So we have like Ableton with lots of samples and lots of triggers. We have a Juno G, and we have like an MPC 500 and 2 sets of drum pads. I'd like to have more drum triggers that we can attach to the real drums to recreate a lot of the samples and the sounds. I'd like to have a lot more synths as well. So if money was an object, I'd also have, well, I'd buy other band members so that there'd be a lot more of us. So it's like, once you start adding one thing, there's kind of no limit to everything you can add. I'm a tech geek, so I would quite like to have multiple variations of everything. So for my own mental health, I think it's probably best I don't ever get that money. If I was a superhero, and I had a power, I think on a good day it would be to make people laugh. I think laughter is really, really important, and as much as lots of my songs aren't a lol, I really like laughing, I really like having fun. So on a good day that'd be my power. On a bad day, my power would be to make people spontaneously fart if they really annoyed me. You meet so many people who just really get on your nerves, and it would be amazing to just click your fingers and watch them really embarrass themselves. And that would be amazing. It would make my day. One song I really wish that I'd written is Finally by CeCe Peniston. I think it's one of those songs that no matter who you are, where you're from, what sexual orientation you are, what like background you've got, everyone responds to that song, and it's just so euphoric that everyone just dances and everyone screams it along at the top of their lungs. I think it's one of the best pop songs ever written. If I could come back as any animal, I would come back as a cat, just because there would be thousands of memes about me all over the internet. I think it's amazing how much people love cats. I love cats. They make me laugh. They make me cry. I love that girl that cries about cats on the internet. I love the girl that laughs about cats on the internet. I love all of these ludicrous GIFs, websites like stuffonmycat.com. all of these things just make it like the perfect animal. My favourite artist that no one's heard of but everyone should know is kind of a hard question because coming from the UK I don't know what you do know and what you don't know. Let me have a little think. There's a guy that I've worked with who goes by the name of Figure of Eight. His production is amazing, his remixes are amazing, and his songwriting is great. So I would say maybe do a little Google search of that. I think a lot of the people that I've had the very good fortune to work with are very talented. Like Bridget Barkin, who's in Slow Nights with us, has written some amazing songs recently. And people that are actively playing, God, it's too many to remember, but if you haven't heard of him, James Ewell is an incredible musician. He's had a couple of albums out that I don't know how widely spread they were in the US, but he's a fantastic songwriter, has gorgeous vocals, an amazing producer, and when you see him live, he's just out of this world. If I could invite 3 people to a party, I would invite Miranda Sings, if you know who she is. She's a YouTube comedian who is absolutely hilarious. I would invite Bjork, and I would invite let me think, who would the third person be? I would invite Liza Minnelli. I'm fascinated by her and her life, and I think she would be outrageous and amazing company. If I could be on the bill with any band, I would have to say Depeche Mode. When I saw them play in 2009, it kind of changed my life. If you listen to the music that I make on record, I'm obviously a huge fan of Depeche Mode. I'm a huge fan of all bands that Vince Clarke has ever been in, touched, written for, produced. But when I first heard their Ultra album, it really kind of changed what I thought pop music could be. Same as when I listened to Bjork and Hyper Ballad and all of her singles, which were huge hits even though they were quite weird. When I first heard Ultra, it really blew my mind because it was on the radio, it was in the charts, top 10 hits, and it didn't sound like anything, and it was really dark and really morbid but so infectious. And when I saw them play live, I couldn't believe at the age they're at now and the length of their career that they still have this much energy and this much great new material. Playing with them would be a dream. I would like to say a massive thank you to anyone that has ever cared about my music or downloaded, illegally or legally, or shared anything to do with what I do. I grew up in the middle of nowhere next to a coal mine, and I never ever thought that anyone in the world would listen to my music. So that anyone would even care is amazing, and I would just say, like, thanks and have fun, and if it makes you happy, that makes me really, really happy.